Many manatees are killed accidentally by using nets for catching sharks. Are there any steps that have been taken to prevent this?
Yes. In the United States, there are rules in most of our coastal waters where nets have been used to catch all variety of fishes. And now we have rules, particularly in Florida, where those nets are actually banned. And that net ban took place in 1995 after a lot of push by a lot of environmental folks, as well as some of the fishermen. Some of the fishermen were very upset. But banning the use of the net has saved many, many manatees from drowning in those nets. So it's been successful.
Manatees that are hunted, what exactly are they hunted for?
Okay, in the United States, it's completely illegal to hunt manatees. But when they were hunted, and they are in some other countries, they're still, people still do that. They were hunted for their meat primarily, and they were also hunted and used, they used everything. And one of the things they did in the early 1800s, 17 and 1800s, was they used their bones for inlays for things. They used them on guns. And
you were asked to travel to Africa to study the manatees. Is there a difference between manatees from here and there?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I went to Africa, I went to help the World Wildlife Fund, which is an organization that, as it says, does wildlife work around the entire globe. And the animal that I went to help them with was a dugong. Small differences between them, but a dugong is pretty neat looking. It's a lot different. It has the face that you and I are used to looking at around here, but the snout goes down deeper. It's found in the ocean, and it has a tail shaped like a dolphin. Yeah. So it's in the ocean, it moves faster, and it's in deeper waters, and it's in trouble. That animal's in a lot of trouble.
Okay. And what kind of hunting do they do in Africa? Is it a lot different than what they do here? I mean, is it illegal?
Yeah, in Africa, that was the issue when I was there, was we were doing aerial surveys to try to delineate the distribution of dugongs in an area that they'd been decimated. And they've been decimated by the local fishing communities, where they are in trouble because a lot of their fish are gone. And they've been eating dugongs when they can occasionally get them in their nets, and they're still doing it. So they do go get them, and they do kill them, and they do eat them.
Of all the problems that manatees experience, habitat loss has done a huge impact. How are these habitats being preserved, and are they being preserved?
The habitats we're trying to preserve them, but one of the biggest things we're doing is we're having so many people come in, and with so many people, we are hurting the habitats. Yes, we're preserving pieces and bits and pieces there, but we're having a hard time doing that because it's actually not that easy to do when you allow that many people to come in and develop.
What is your favorite thing about manatees?
Oh, I don't know. They're from a perspective of just watching an animal that lives on the planet with us. They're kind of fun to watch. From a science perspective, they're just important.
And what do they contribute now to wildlife? Or, I mean, how are they an asset?
If you think about the seagrass beds that are all out there in the river, they are under different pressures constantly, and one of those things is an animal to come in and graze. And when an animal grazes through a pasture, like animals out in the Great Plains in Africa, all those different types of creatures that they have there that are amazing, they're breaking down the plant material, and then it's increasing the nutrients back into that system, leaving opportunities for other animals to do that next phase. So it's kind of a constant rolling dynamics of the nutrients that are taken out and put back into the system, and it's self-supporting for our other animals. Fish, crabs, shrimp, things you want to eat, things you want to watch, things you want to catch, they all rely on those grass beds, and manatees are a part of that.
If manatees were to become extinct, what kind of negative effects would that have?
We would lose the biggest herbivore that we have in these rivers where they are, and that would be a bad thing. Exactly what would happen, Probably we'd have to talk a while about it. We've done some studies where we've excluded manatees from feeding inside an area. We've put fences up where they can't actually get in.
Yeah.
And we do see changes in the vegetation in the community. And so it would upset the balance. They have relatively thin skin. They do have a little bit of blubber or fat. And then they have this large quantity of red meat, and then you're getting into those bones. So a lot of times when you see a manatee that's been hit, it's been hit enough to get into its muscles and do a lot of bleeding. They heal extremely well. They're incredibly tough animals. It's the fact that the average manatee is hit more than 10 times in its life by a boat.
Wow.
More than 10 times. And they're hit very deeply, and if they're hit in the wrong spot, they don't make it. But they've been hit enough, they'll get hit on the tail, they'll get hit on the upper. When they get hit up really high, that means they're getting hit in their lungs, and that's when they become more incapacitated than when they're hit further back. But even when they're hit further back, if you and I were hit like that, we'd bleed to death.
Yeah.
And somehow they are tough enough to take this. They just are unbelievable. There was a manatee that some of our colleagues looked at, and it had been hit 47 times before it died.
Wow.
47 different times. And some of them learn after getting hit. They learn about that sound of the boat, and you'll see manatees if you've ever been out in your boat and they rush away. You'll see like a bullet or a torpedo of an animal trying to get away.
Is there a particular moment or time during your research that has stuck with you?
Seeing the numbers of manatees increase over time has been something that doesn't take one day to see that, it takes years. That's been really wonderful. Seeing dugongs was a pleasure and an honor to be able to see a dugong. They're rare in that part of the world. Swimming with manatees when I was doing research where manatees would just kind of come up and hang around you was exciting to be underwater and be near an animal that's completely different than me and have it kind of hang out. That was pretty cool. And then being sad a few times when you try not to get attached to animals that are not your pets. Manatees are not pets. They're just animals. But you can become attached, and I've had a few that we had in a study that we did where they were inside an exclosure to teach them how to eventually become out in the wild because they've been in captivity for so long. So we had these ones that were kind of being slowly groomed. And a couple of those didn't make it, and that made me sad. But they're interesting to look at even when they're dead. Their guts, their muscles, everything about them is very interesting. They're neat creatures, and they're very gentle, so they're kind of neat.
Right.